Hello everyone. In this second video on Fusion 360, we are going to look at creating parts, and we are going to look at the essential initial commands that are under create. So basic commands like extrude and cut extrude, revolve, cut revolve, sweep, loft, rib, and so on, right? So we're going to look at some of these. Box, and there are some additional commands for basic shapes like box, cylinder, and sphere in or torus in Fusion that you don't see like in SolidWorks or CATIA or Coil or pipe. So we're going to look at these, creating holes and threads. And then in the next video, we're going to look at more advanced commands. We're going to look at meshes and so on. And then we're going to also look at the modify. So let's get started. So let's say we want to create some object with extrusion, and of course we can start first with the simplest thing possible, which is a box. So in order to create a box, one simple thing you can do is just simply click on the box command. So if you click on the box command, it first is expecting you to click on the one corner here, right? So let's say, for instance, I go with that corner, and then also on which plane you want, let's say, the bottom face to be. So I go on this plane and I start here. And if you look, that is the corner of this box, and you can provide the dimensions right now. So let's say 100 tab by 80. And then once you click, it allows you to do third dimension, let's say by 50. And you enter, and boom, you got the box. As simple as that, right? So if you want to create basic shapes, then it's not really a hard thing like a box. But if the extrusion is a little bit more complicated than that, then you can use the extrusion command here. And of course, a cylinder is another extrusion, right? So a cylinder is basically a circle extruded. So for instance, if I want to do that, look, let me do first the basic shapes very fast. And then once the basic shapes are over, we are going to look at the extrusion command. So let me do the cylinder as well, which is another extrusion. So again, let's say on this bottom plane, and that's the center of the circle, and let's say the radius is 50, or diameter is 50 in this case, and let's say the height is, for instance, 30, right? Okay, so there we go. That's your cylinder done. So these are two simple extrusions. But as I said, if you, let's say, want to extrude some shape, like a hexagon or triangle or something like that, you want to make a prism, something like that, then you have to select a plane. So here, right, we can pick one of these planes, right? Let's say XY plane, go to sketch, and let's say in this case, draw a polygon. So let's say draw a pentagon here. So here we should be able to draw a polygon. We click at the center, and then it should allow us to pick the number of edges and then the radius. Seems like it was not picked. Let me pick it again. There we go. You see here. So let me type in 5, and let's make it like that. And of course the dimension was given, but if you want, you can provide that dimension by using D and provide this radius of the circle inside, let's say 35. Okay, and you can force this line to be horizontal. So now it's fully defined, and now you can extrude this, right? So the profile is selected, and you can start from the profile plane, or you can start with offset. So if you want to start it a little bit above the XY plane, you can here say, I want to start with offset. It says how much is offset? Say, well, maybe 20 mil above it, right? And then now you're going to start there. And then for how long do you want to go? Let's say I want to go for 70, right? So there we go. You see that it is above the surface for 20 and goes for 70. And you can go one side, or you can go two sides. In two sides, you can go in the opposite direction for as much as you want. Let's say I want in this direction to go for 5, right? You can do that as well. You can give a taper angle to each one. So let's say the top part, I want to give it a 10-degree taper angle. and it's outside, but if you wanted it to be inside, you use a negative. And on the bottom, you just want to use maybe 30 degrees or something. And let's make it negative so it's inside as well, right? There we go. It's done. Now, if you want it to be a thin feature, you click on this one, and that makes it a thin extrude. You have to provide a thickness here. So let's say in direction 1, the thickness is 1 mil, or let's say 2 mils. In direction 2, the thickness is 1 mil, something like that. Okay, and if you okay that, now you can get this beautiful shape here, right? So this is a simple extrusion, and there are more commands. By the way, the extrusion is here. You can right click on it and edit that. So let's say if you want to make it symmetric and not two different dimensions, then you click on symmetric. So now both sides are going to be the same. Okay, it's going to be symmetric in both sides, and there we go. Now you get a symmetric object. Correct? So this is a simple extrusion. Now you might say, well, where's the Cut-Extrude? I did not see any Cut-Extrude here, right? Because if you go here, you do not see any Cut-Extrude or Cut-Revolve or Cut-Sweep. Well, the thing is, inside the extrude, you have the option to make it Cut-Extrude. Where is that? Let me show you. Let's say, for instance, I want to make a circular hole through this object. On one side goes to the other side, right? Or something like that. So for instance, just on one of the faces. So I click on the surface, right, and then start a sketch. And now I go with the circle and I draw some circle like that. And of course, use the dimension here and give it some dimension and some offset like that. Okay, that's good. And if you want it to be fully defined, you have to force this point and the origin to be vertical. There we go. So it's perfectly defined now. Now I want to what? I want to Cut-Extrude this through that face and make a circular hole. How? For that, I still click on the extrude command, but this time look under operation. Instead of creating a new body or join this extrusion with the previous one, I can say cut. Okay, and then it says how far, right? How far do you want to go? You can do that, or you can say to object, or you can say through all. If I say through all, it will cut through the other side. But if I just want some distance or to object, which is to a surface, basically, I can also do that. So let's say I just wanted for instance, 2 mil, which was the wall thickness. And you see right now it is going out, which is the wrong direction. You have to Cut-Extrude in. So you have to go backward in, something like that. So you have to do -2 basically, or -3 or something like that to go inside. And if you do that, then there we go. You see the cut is made. So Cut-Extrude is within the extrude basically by just changing the type of operation. Now, one type of creating 3D objects is with extrude and Cut-Extrude. The other way is for objects that are basically revolved about an axis. They have an axis of symmetry, like a sphere or torus or anything more complicated. So if it's just a sphere, just click on the sphere command. And let's say I want to put this XY plane as my plane of symmetry, right? So it's symmetric about that plane. That's the center. You provide the radius and done. That's a sphere. Or you want to create a torus, right, which is basically a circle that is extruded about an axis off the center. So I can click on the torus, and again, let's say I want this to be the plane of symmetry, and I put the center of the torus there, and then I provide the inner radius, let's say 70, and then I provide the torus diameter, which is 20 in this case, or if you want to make it thicker, let's say 30 or something, right? Or you want to make it thinner, make it 10. So up to you. And there we go, right? Here, that's a torus. So these are simple rotary objects. But if I want something more complicated, so something that looks, for instance, like a chess piece or something, right? Let's say a pawn, then I have to create the sketch and revolve it. And I need to draw half of the profile, right? That's what you know. Or let's say I want, for instance, a simple cone or truncated cone, then I need to draw a triangle, right? So if I go here and go on this, let's say in this case XZ plane, and draw some sketch. And I make it very simple in this case. So I draw a line here, and then after the line, if you want, you can add a tangent arc by holding down the left mouse key and dragging basically some 3-point arc, something like this. And then from here you can go ahead and, let's say for instance, draw a bunch of extra thing. Now again, this meant to be very simple and no complicated. Okay, so I'm just designing some very, very basic thing. And let me bring it down a little bit. So I added these extra lines and made the sketch. And now, of course, if you want, you can fillet, right? So you can apply some fillets and around these sharp corners. And let's say if this is good, then you exit. And of course, now you have an axis, which is this line. So I click on the revolve command and I pick this line for the axis. And let's say this is a pawn. Of course, no big design involved here. And then this is a, you can go full 360, or you can go partial, or you can go one way or the other way, right? So let's say here is a very bad design pawn, but basically this is all you need to do. Okay, let's see if I can bring it a little bit inside further and make it a little bit shorter. Maybe that looks a little bit better, something like that. And of course, can click on this fillet and around that edge over there with like 2 mils if I can, something like that. Okay, so this is a revolve, and you can do cut revolve now as well. For instance, let's say you go on this plane or this one, and you create a sketch, and now let's say you want to make some kind of cut into this object. So you go for a circle or a 3-point arc or anything, and let's say you just place it somewhere here, and you want to cut revolve this. So now that the sketch is done, you go for revolve again, but the operation this time will be cut. And then it says, what is the axis? Right now you don't have an axis, but if you grab a round object, it will recognize the axis of the round object as the axis of revolution here. And if you do the cut, there we go. You see, now I have this extra cut in here. Okay, so that's a revolve cut. Okay, so that was cut and revolve cut. The next two commands are for sweep. Sweep is when you make a profile follow a path, a guide, and two of the well-known shapes that are made by sweep are a pipe and a coil or spring. Okay, and in both of these cases, probably use a circle profile, although I assume in coil you can use other profiles too. But if you want a general shape to follow a path, then use the sweep command here. So let's say, for instance, I want a pipe, and for pipe you have to have the guide ahead of time. The guide curve you have to make it ahead of time. So let's say you go to the XY plane and you create a sketch. And let's make it a spline or something, huh? So here we make some spline. And then once we have that selected, we can go to the pipe. And it says select the path. So that is my path. And then you see the selection could be circular, square, or triangular. So you have a little bit more option. So let's say circle is good. And then you can make it hollow if you want. You can tell it the diameter of the circle. So let's say 20, and then make it hollow for me with a thickness wall of 2 mils. And you can do again sweep, or you can do cut sweep, as you can see here, right? So here we go. And this is a pipe, or you want a coil. So you click on the coil. You select the base plane. So let's say on the XY plane, you select the center of the profile. So let's say here, you draw the circle for the base, so let's say 100, and then it creates the preview of it. So what you can do is either based on revolution and pitch, revolution and height, height and pitch spiral. So I do revolution and pitch. And how many revolutions? Let's say I have 5 revolutions. And then you have to provide the section size, the diameter of the coil basically. So let's say 10 in this case. And then what is the pitch here? So let's say the pitch is 20. Okay, just like that. And then you can have the section position to be on the center or off center or outside or inside. You can do all of that. And again, you can do sweep or cut sweep in this case, which we want the sweep. And there we go. That's a simple spring. So you see it's done very fast. And in this case, you do not need to make the helix and then do the profile. You can easily basically get the object done. And if I go back on this object and look at edit feature, you see that for cross section, you have circular, square, and triangular. So you can make it, for instance, a spring with a square cross section, something like that. Okay, and then you can make it arbitrary shape of curve as long as you have a profile and you have a curve. So in this case, if you don't want this object, let's say get rid of it, but you still have that path, which was this guy. So let's make it visible by clicking V and make it visible. So now I want a special profile to follow this, like let's say an ellipse or something. The first thing is you need to create a plane that is perpendicular to this path at one endpoint. So you need to go to construct, and then you have to create a plane along the path like this. And then click on this path. So it's going to be a plane along the path. And then the distance says proportional. That's fine. If I make this distance 0, it goes to the beginning point. If I make it 1, it goes to the end point. And it's perpendicular to it. Perfect. That's my plane. And now on this plane, I should be able to create my profile. So let's say here I go with an ellipse. Right. And then let's see, yeah, that origin is my center. So I draw some small ellipse, something like this, and get out. You need to make sure the dimension of this profile is such that as it passes through the path, there is no self-intersection. If there is self-intersection, you cannot make it work. Okay, you're going to get an error. So now we go and click on the sweep command. And of course, it says the profile. We pick the ellipse. It says the path. We pick this spline, and there we go. And again, we can give it a taper angle. We can give it a twist, which I'll show you later how to use it. The orientations, we can make all of these cross sections to be perpendicular to the path or parallel to a specific direction. Okay. And we can do sweep or cut sweep or anything for that matter. And once you okay that, there we go. You see, now we got this special shape. So this is sweep and cut sweep. And let me very fast do a cut sweep as well. So I'm gonna go to this new plane, and I'm gonna draw another sketch, and this time maybe a corner rectangle. And I want to cut through this object, make something like a keyway or a slot. So now with that sketch selected, I am going to do another sweep command. And that is the profile. So let's see if I can pick the profile here. All right, so the profile is this guy. And the path is this. And this time you see automatically the option of cut is taken. There we go. And here is the cut on the object, as you can see, right? That is the cut on the object. And if you don't want that sketch, click on V again and hide it, right? There we go. So this is the sweep. Now let's go for loft and cut loft, or you might call it multi-section. So let's go ahead and clean up. Now to do the loft, we need two separate cross sections on two different planes. So let's say we go to the XZ plane, and for instance, we draw a center rectangle, right? So here we go, centered rectangle, and let's draw a square in this case. So I use D and give this guy a dimension, let's say 100. And for the other one, I use a constraint. So I pick this side and I pick this side and I use the equal. There we go, fully defined. Now I pick that same XZ plane, and this time we create an offset plane for that with a distance of, so it says select the plane, here we go, and then the distance is, so let me pick the plane, there we go, and for offset, let's say, for instance, 80. Let's see how far it goes, maybe more, 150. And maybe we make it -150, so it goes behind. And there we go, that's my new plane. I pick it, go to sketch, and this time do a circle centered at origin. Something like this, and give it some dimension, and we are ready for the multi-section now that we have both profiles done. So now we go for loft or multi-section, and here you need to provide the two profiles. So I pick this as the first profile and I pick this as the second profile, and there we go, that's my multi-section. And there are 4 key points that are connected by lines here by default. And if you grab these points and move them, you may create twist in the object. Right now, the points are directly connected to the, on one profile connected to the other profile that are right in front of them. So there is no twist in the loft. But if I grab this point and try to do a little bit, move it around, something like this, okay? Right, and then similarly to these other points, I can create a twist in the object, right? So look here, let me show you. If you look right now, clearly you see that the object is what? The object is twisted, okay? Or if you didn't, then it would be straight plane, straight line. So this is a multi-section which is simple. Now you don't need to make it this simple. If you want, on the sides, instead of connecting these key points with lines, you can connect them with rails or guides. And the guide could be either a center guide, or it could be on the top and on the bottom, on the left and on the right. Okay, so you can do different things. And again, you can do loft or cut loft, right? So there are lots of things you can do. For instance, if you want to do a center rail, then you just need a curve that connects these guys together. So let me show you that one. Let me delete this for now. Just the profiles, let's bring them back. There we go. So now I go onto this plane that is perpendicular to those two original planes. And on this one, I create a center rail, which is something like this. Let's see if it's even possible without self-intersecting. Seems like I turned the command off instead of double clicking, and let me remove the curvature, the big curvature. There we go. So can I connect them with something like this instead of a simple line? And by the way, you make sure that it intersects with the profiles, this center curve. So let's go ahead and see what we can do now. And loft again. For profiles, I pick this and I pick that. And for rail, I say I want a center one and I pick this. And there we go. You see, now you can make the shape complicated. Or as I said, you can do on the top, bottom, left, and right if you want it in all different directions. So this is a loft, and you can do a cut loft or anything for that matter that you want. Okay, so these are the 4 major commands that you have in any CAD software that you want to create. And as I said, in Fusion, you have these extra commands that are going to help you. Now we have patterns, we have mirror, thicken, whole thread, emboss, and a bunch of other things, as well as modify. And to not make this video very long, I'm going to stop the video right now. And in the next video, I'm going to show you the rest of these essential tools, okay, mirror, pattern, and so on, along with some of these modify tools. And then we're going to go about the changing the appearance of the part and so on, measuring the mass of the part and so on, doing parametric design. Then we go about creating meshes and so many other things. So let's stop the video right now, and then we're going to continue in the next video. Thank you so much for your attention. I'll see you in the next lecture.